So, good evening. Here we are again, ready to have another evening of getting together. Hopefully, we'll have a few people join us. Hopefully, the topic of self-care isn't going to put people off because some people aren't certain. Marianne's joined, that's good. Sonia, Bronwyn, well, that's good. Elaine. So that's 6 of us. Anita, that's good. Hi to all of you. Hi to Caroline. So I'm going to pass you over to Ola to begin.
Hello. Well, I was thinking during the week about something that was brought up last week, and it was about self-care and how so many people think that it's about physical, taking care of, pampering, get your nails done, or whatever. And at the time you said self-care is really about taking care of yourself on all levels, so spiritual, mental, emotional, physical.
Yeah.
If you're somebody who's watching tonight and you're not taking care of yourself on any level, why is that? Do we not just have an automatic habit of stopping and realizing we need to take care of ourselves?
I think it's a good question. I think part of that is because we might tend to think that we're being selfish. We've now got Haresh, and we've now got Tracy. Hi guys, glad you could join us. I think that's got a lot to do with it. How about chipping in with how you see it? But I think a lot of it is because we're told that's being selfish. You should take care of everybody else first, forgetting the oxygen mask that Anita spoke about last week. What are some of the ways that we refuse to give ourselves permission to take care of ourselves?
Oh, I think that's a really good point, actually, because I think one of the first ones is, I have to take care of X, Y, and Z, a person, a thing, a job first. Again, like what Anita was saying, how if you don't put your oxygen mask on yourself first on an airplane, how can you take care of somebody else? But I think that's the first thing we do is look for an excuse or distraction not to. Like everybody else before us. Yeah,
I think so. So now we've got Glynis, Juliet, Pia. Bronwyn says it's often called selfish, yes. And she also says we should be considering our own, she didn't say should, considering our own mental, emotional self. Juliet says we keep on coping with the busyness around us. Bronwyn said the same as you, it's a way of avoiding responsibility.
Yes, yeah.
And good point, Elaine, it might mean spending money. And who are we to spend money on ourselves? So let's look at this from a bit of a wider context. Self-care doesn't cost anything. That's the first thing. Because self-care is really encapsulated in one word: permission.
Yeah.
We give ourselves permission to be who we are and to take care of ourselves in being who we are. And that's your mental emotional balance. Because if you're giving yourself permission to be who you are, you're not trying to be something else. You're not spending money on, I have to go here, I have to go there, I need to do this. And if we're not giving ourselves permission, how can we give it to anybody else?
Yeah.
Anita says yes. Sharon's here. Hi, Sharon. Anita says making something else a priority. Haresh says I can feel self-care starts with taking a bit of time each day to do something you love so you can be in tune within. Otherwise, we use up our energy without rejuvenating and repleting. Bronwyn, we can stay small because it can be scary to actually step up. Absolutely. Sonia, does self-care also mean we look at ourselves honestly? Honestly, not critically. Constructive criticism, yes. For example, during lockdown, I've expanded my awareness. In other words, I've added 2 kilos to my body weight. Did I plan to do that? Was I looking after myself in doing that? No. Am I going to judge it? No. I'm just going to go out and buy a whole new wardrobe.
More self-care.
More self-care. But yeah, it can.
There was something that Sonia said last week as well. I don't know if it was in during the week or during the Facebook Live, and she said like when someone's taking care of themselves, truly they're at peace with themselves.
Yes.
And in being at peace with yourself, that's what you're sharing with other people. And I don't think we stop and realize that as well. That, like you said, it's not about spending money. If you're completely aligned and at peace with yourself, everybody feels it as soon as they meet you, and that's all it is.
It's called the aura.
Yeah, yeah.
It's called the aura. We have an aura.
Mm.
And Haresh makes a valid point, you know, taking a bit of time each day to just feel who we are, even if we're not doing anything, to just sit and be with ourselves. It might be that we sit and watch the sunrise, or we had some people working on the property today, and one of the guys brought his puppy with him, this gorgeous little Labrador that the vet's now told him he's overweight.
Oh no.
So he's a roly-poly little dog, he's gorgeous. Just sitting for a couple of minutes, it recharges you. It makes a difference. So I think, yes, being willing to see ourselves with kindness, not make excuses, not have illusions, be kind about who we are so that we can encourage ourselves to be more.
And you often say about accepting ourselves warts and all.
Yeah.
And that's also something that I don't think we meet people that often who do that. And it is quite inspiring when you meet somebody who you know is just perfectly happy with themselves no matter what. Like, it's quite powerful. But I find that really infectious. That's the word. Yeah.
Because there's always something we can improve about who we are, but we don't have to. If it's a choice, then we're growing. If it's a compulsion, then we're either meeting somebody else's criteria or we're adding a should, which adds mental stress and then can always upset us emotionally too. So, Srupa, Haresh said, I like this one. Haresh said he feels it's also about sharing instead of giving. Sharing is such an empowering thing to do. So if part of our self-care is that we take time to share with each other rather than give to each other. My father-in-law was a giver. So he was always putting his hand in his pocket and buying something and giving it to you. And when it came time for his Christmas or birthday, we would ask him, what would you like? Because he never let you know what he wanted. And he would say, no, it's okay. And in the end, I took him on one side and I said, you know, Pop, we're going to have to start saying no thank you to anything you want to give us. And he said, why? He was really shocked. He said, why? I said, because you're making us takers.
Yeah. Yeah, there's no reciprocal.
There's no reciprocal.
Yeah.
It's not there's no share. You're making us takers. We have to take all the time. There's no opportunity for us to give back to you in the same way.
It's unbalanced. Yeah.
And so it didn't happen that way with us because he heard and things changed, but that can lead to resentment, and that's not good for anybody.
And it always starts off, somebody always starts off with really good intention, but yeah, that kind of thing very quickly can turn into quite the opposite. Yeah.
So Juliet says, simply being present. Sarupa says, how lovely that you're together. What a joy.
What a joy.
It's actually not. I just have to put up with her. Okay?
She didn't invite me. I just rocked up and knocked on her door and insisted I came in.
But we thought this is sharing, which is what Haresh is talking about. And we thought that it would be, we're going to change things going forward. So doing this and having two of us makes it a little bit more dynamic, perhaps a bit more interesting for people. Next week, we're going to have the panel. Sorry, my brain just suddenly died then. It's doing that a lot lately. Glennie says, being at peace with yourself, what a huge impact that can have on others. Absolutely. Many of our relationships, Bronwyn said, are based on compromise. Absolutely. An implicit agreement that we will behave in a particular way in order to stay safe. And it doesn't keep us safe. What it does is it puts more and more pressure on us that what if we slip up and forget ourselves or forget the ourself that somebody else thinks we are.
Yeah. And that pressure builds.
It does.
And eventually, yeah.
And then it happens.
Yeah.
The very thing you
Yeah.
don't want to happen happens. And you lose somebody, but that person didn't know you at all because you were doing what they wanted. Elaine stopped rushing. Bronwyn said the same as you, Orla, that it's inspiring. It's such a joyful community spirit when we share instead of givers and takers. Yeah, because then you've got thankfulness and abundance. Absolutely correct, Haresh, and no gratitude or obligation.
Obligation's a heavy word, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. It's heavy.
Yeah.
Sharon says no have-tos, shoulds, or oughts. Absolutely not. They don't work. If we're taking care of ourselves and we've got shoulds, oughts, have-tos, we're not taking care of ourselves.
No.
We're making ourselves fit some kind of criteria or box
that we think
we need to fit.
Yeah, and actually nobody else thinks that.
Sharon says she can feel a tingling when she walks outside and remembers she has another day to smile at one more person. Great, because it does make a difference.
Yeah,
it does make a difference. There's a freedom. So self-care is about the freedom to be who we are. And it's that simple. Not to be who we should be or what somebody else thinks is important. In actual fact, if we meditate or contemplate and connect to our guidance knows who we are and sees us clearly. So by making that connection each day, we're actually on tap with ourselves, with our higher self. The more we bring that in, the more we take care of who we are, and the less we have challenges. Sarupa says, self-care in the new world, focus on what we did right. I think my old world became leaning towards what I did wrong. Yeah, because that's what it was. We were always striving to be perfect, and when you're perfect, you're not you.
Yeah.
You're not real. And you can't grow. You're stuck.
Yeah, I was going to ask that why we have a tendency to look for the why we shouldn't take care of ourselves or what's wrong. It's interesting that that's up to now certainly been a pattern. It still is a pattern instead of this, which is so much easier and so much more relaxing to just take care of yourself. It's interesting that there has been this need to be the other, not yourself. And
self-protection.
Yeah, because you think you have to protect yourself.
It's not self-care, it's self-protection.
Yeah.
And so self-protection leads to defensiveness.
Yeah, because you always think you're being attacked or questioned or, yes.
So it's an interesting, any questions, any thoughts about good ways to take care of ourselves? Because Orla and I are having a great time here chatting. And we could do this whether we're on Facebook or not.
For a long time. We could even crack open gin, it would be fine.
Well, that's another form of self-care.
It is another form of self-care. Yeah, I mean, self-care as well can be really, really simple. I think sometimes we think it has to be, oh, I have to go away somewhere, or it has to be something quite big, but it can be something as simple as sitting down with a cup of coffee for half an hour and just daydreaming.
Yeah.
You know, what my life could be, what I could do next. It doesn't, I think we also would get stuck into the, well, I don't have time because it'll take too long, but it doesn't have to be a massive commitment. It can be really quite little.
Yeah.
Or sitting with a friend and having a chat. Like, that is also a form of self-care. Yeah.
Well, both of you are taking care of yourselves.
Yeah.
Unless, of course, one person is all about me, and then it's not self-care.
No, then the other one is...
It's got to be sharing.
The other one's exhausted by the end of it. Sorry, Helen.
Yeah, I think that's a valid point, Elaine. People have to will need to get used to you taking care of yourself. One of the problems that I see coming out of where we've been is that going into it, many of us taught people to depend on us.
Yeah. That
we were always there to help other people. Don't worry about that, I'll do that. And created it wasn't intentional, but created a dependency. And now those people have learned that you weren't there. So and I'm not saying anybody particularly, but you've been there for other people, you've been their stopgap, you've been their go-to person. And 2 months of lockdown and not being able to be their go-to person or their stopgap. First of all, they were lost. And then they had to find a way to navigate without you there. So coming out of it, if you recreate that, everything they've gained, they will have lost. Instead of being the go-to, walk beside them.
Yeah. It can,
and then you can be you and they can be them without.
It can also, I think when you finally wake up and realize I need some time for me, it can't just be all about everybody else. That can also sometimes create problems because you've made people so dependent on you, they get upset that you're not there. So there isn't a win situation in this for anybody because you might think that you're helping somebody, but at the end of the day,
it's emotional, body,
right,
and it's feeling a need for you to be needed,
right,
and a need for them to feel safe. But when an emergency occurs, it blows that out of the water, and they can blame you afterwards.
Yeah.
When you go back to see them afterwards, well, you know, I got so used to you, and now you're not here. So it's important to find that balance where, in taking care of others, you're taking care of you and it's equal. Juliet says self-care can also be tuning in and asking, what is it I need to balance my energy? Would you like to answer?
What I need to
this
balance
one
my
first?
energy?
No. What some of these comments are now.
Yeah, so self-care, you're tuning in. Again, often the answers are very simple. We think it's going to be, I need to do something kind of long and whatever. It can be as simple as breathing.
No, that's the answer to the question.
Yeah.
See, I think Juliet pops in sneaky questions.
Oh, is she? Oh, okay.
I think it's a sneaky question, Juliet, because if you're meditating, you're tuned in, you don't need to ask what you need to balance your energy.
Right.
You'll be told.
You're already tuned in.
Spirit's not backward in coming forward. So if we tune in, and there is something that we need to adjust, Spirit will tell us.
Yeah.
Yeah, of course we can ask. Sometimes I think we ask, if we don't ask what we actually want to know and ask what we think we should be asking, I think that's worse than not asking at all. But yeah, it's about balancing the energy. And let's face it, most of us know that if we need to balance ourselves, we've usually got go-to things. I like to listen to music, or I'll watch an old YouTube of Morecambe and Wise, because I've only got to see those two and I start laughing.
Yeah.
So, you know, we've all got things that we know how to do that will help us. But yeah, good point. Doris says it's great to just do what you feel you want to do at this moment without harm to others. Absolutely. Stepping away is a form of self-care. Yep, that's true, Bronwyn. Sharing and walking together. I think walking beside is the most important. If you're going to take care of yourself, learning to walk beside another is the best way that you can do it for you and for the person you're walking with, because you teach them to do the same. Sarupa says it's interesting as we've made over 70s dependent here in the UK by saying shield and they don't want to. Well, speaking as a 70-year-old, I felt decrepit when they did it here, and I didn't feel I needed anybody else to shield me. And I think a lot of people of my generation have been through a lot of things and come out the other side. So we know how to take care of ourselves. We know what we need to do in the moment, and we do it. Having somebody say, oh, because of a number, you're fragile, I think was the problem.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you're well able to make decisions. Like, the older you are, the more able you are to make a decision and a sensible decision for yourself. And I think what happened here was eventually they kind of realized that's what needed to happen, and they said that people over 70 know if they're ill or not ill, and they can take care of themselves. But
they took that off.
It was an arbitrary number. Yeah.
Yeah, and a lot of people that have reached the grand old age of 70 have been through depressions, health challenges, life and death situations. You know, basically, we've lived. Coronavirus doesn't frighten us. We're not stupid about it, but we know what our limits are. And I think that's the thing. Self-care is also about knowing what your limits are, not having bravado and saying, I can do this, and not being so frightened to breathe. Breathing is really important. What's Haresh saying? Taking some time to look at possibilities for self, meditating, connecting in silence to our soul, reading something that, wow, this is busy, Haresh. Reading something that inspires and delights, taking some time to chat with loved ones without a focus. That's a good idea. Watching some TV, whatever gets our hearts beating lightheartedly. Yeah. A big one, Doris, letting go of feeling guilty when we do something for ourselves.
Yeah. That's such a pattern for people. It's amazing how we have this idea that self-care is wrong or
selfish.
It's
selfish.
Yeah.
We should be doing for other people.
Yeah, always, yeah.
I'll tell you the best self-care for me is at 6 o'clock in the morning when the alarm goes off. Tony gets up, makes a cup of tea, brings it back to bed, and we sit in bed with a biscuit and drink our tea.
Yeah, that's a really nice start.
And that's how we start the day. And then we have a cuddle.
Also a lovely start to the day.
And then we don't talk to each other for the rest of the day.
And a lovely way to spend the day. But you've always done that.
I've always, yeah.
You two have always done that.
We've always done that.
Yeah.
That's always been how we set our day. And
Yeah.
when I'm traveling, I do it. I get up, make a cup of tea. And notice I didn't say when I'm home, I get up and make a cup of tea.
Yes, good point.
That's Tony's. He's quite happy doing that. But when I'm traveling, I get up and make a cup of tea and go back to bed with a biscuit and sit. And he does the same. So it's something that both of us do to start our day that just gives us that time and space with ourselves before we get up and get busy. And it's amazing the impact it has.
I think that's really good because so many people just hop out of bed like that, straight into the day and never have time to set the energy or anything. Yeah.
Well, that changed for me because when I was in my late 20s, that started happening. I'd jump out of bed and I faint.
But that's not self-care.
And what happened was I went to the doctor and he said, what's happened is your blood pressure's not caught up with your brain. Tell your husband to make you a cup of tea and have a biscuit to bring your blood sugar up and then get up. I don't think the doctor meant do it for the next 5 years.
I was going to say, did you use that as an excuse? The doctor said you have to, Tony, forever.
So there you go. I think Caroline's right too, you know. Just sitting listening to the birds.
Yeah.
Have a cup of tea, daydream. Just being, not doing. Yeah, that's true, Haresh. I think we forget the older you are, the more you have experienced. It's silly to assume you know less.
Yeah.
I find it interesting that if I go anywhere, so if I go, for example, to buy something for the computer, people will say to me, now, do you have an email address, dear?
Sorry?
And I say, yes. And then I say, this is a business expense. Business expense? Yes. What do you do? Well, I do a lot of work on the internet. Oh!
Do you know what the internet is?
I actually do, you know, it's a bit of a surprise, really. But we do that. We pigeonhole things.
Yeah.
So Doris does the Negon, which I would imagine would be beautiful on her rooftop. Sarupa, self-care, loving habits and patterns. We didn't need to know you were in bed, Sarupa. I know it's early in the morning, but... Oh, and we're better than Morecambe and Wise.
Thank you.
Because the point is, it's about... Self-care is about joy.
Yeah.
Ultimately, it's about having fun. And if you're not having fun...
You're definitely not in self-care.
No.
Definitely not. No.
No. Something needs to be done. So Sonia is to look at the hills and feel the beauty of nature and forget everything that could be a problem. Yeah, Elaine, you're right. Assumptions. Walking on the beach and looking at the waves. Okay, so Orla and I have kind of rabbited on here. We're going to have a panel next week. with a few people talking. I'm not going to be part of that panel, and neither's Orla. You're going to have Sonia and Anita next week with a few people. And it's a Zoom meeting that we will then put onto Facebook Live afterwards.
Yeah, after.
Because we're having problems when we try to stream, it disconnects. I feel getting together, we've kind of hit a bit of a wall that we need to start to either decide where we're going with this group, all of us, not just a few of us, and do something different, or say, well, you know, it served a purpose going through coronavirus. We're not through it yet, we're not finished, but we're coming out of it now. And I'd like to know how people feel about whether you're interested in what we can start doing to rebuild community. That won't be talked about next week. Next week's the panel. It may be touched on, I'm not saying it won't. But has this group served its purpose? So that's my question. Has this group served its purpose? Is there something other you feel we could do? Or do you feel it's time to say, thanks very much? Srupa says, I asked during SST and haven't stopped. I always used to say, am I having fun yet?
Yeah.
If I'm not having fun, what's the point? So yeah, that could be a good question for people for self-care, to know if you're taking care of yourself. Am I having fun yet? And if the answer is no,
then you're not taking care of yourself.
No, you're not taking care of yourself. Yeah. So it's time to stop and step back and not be critical. And sometimes we stop having fun because we're in transition from one thing to another. So it's not always everything rolling forward. But anyway, let me know how you feel about if you want to move forward, because what we're thinking of doing, if there is the interest in carrying on, is that once a fortnight you'll have Morecambe and Wise, and once a fortnight you'll have a panel, and the panel will change every fortnight. If you think that it's going to be valuable, great, pop it in a post. If you think that, you know, there's no need to continue, pop it in the post and we'll take it from there.
Yeah.
So now I'm going to do an imitation of the two Ronnies. I'm going to say, so it's good night from me.
And it's good night from her. Good night.
So thank you for joining us. I hope you had fun. And yes, there's some more good comments coming in. I'm going to leave them there. But thanks for joining us. I've enjoyed it.
I've had a lovely time.
Yeah. So we'll talk to you another time. Good night.
Good night.